This video is going to show you how you can use an on-screen piano keyboard to record in some music if you want to play it on the fly, rather than try and program it using your mouse and using the dots on the sequencer. So this gives you a much more natural feel, and if you're a bit of a musician, it's kind of a bit more fun to do this. So I'm going to I've added a Kong, and I'm going to introduce you to, under Window, I can bring up with F4 if you want to use the keyboard. I can bring up the on-screen piano keys, and on my Kong here, as long as I'm selecting the Kong as the instrument I want to be playing, then that will be the one that this keyboard plays. Now with the Kong, the drums all start on C1, which is the name of the C that's here on the piano, and so that's where drum number 1 is going to start, with the letter A on my keyboard. And I can see that mapped out on my, a bit like the keyboard on the computer, I've got a little piano here, and I can press A on the keyboard, and as long as this is highlighted down here as the track I'm controlling, then A is going to be that first drum. So W there is the number 2 drum. Now if you want to record music in, you need to get an idea of how fast Reason is playing at. I'm going to double click my speed and change it to 100 just to slow it down a little bit. And I'm going to put the click on, and I'm going to do 2 bars between the beginning and the end of that second bar. I'm going to make sure it's on loop, and I'm going to hit record. But before I do hit record, I'm just going to just try a few of the drums, work out where they are. You might find a drum that you prefer playing. So the other thing here is to record, not worrying about playing the whole drum kit at once. So build it up. So I'm going to hit record, and with the click on, I know I'll be able to hear my timing. You can hear the beginning of the bar on a slightly different noise. I'm going to stop recording. I'm going to double click on this thing, this little brick of music. I'm going to enlarge it slightly because I am human, and so what I can do is say, well, that's the sort of beat I want, but I obviously want it a bit cleaner than that. So I highlight the notes, right click, and quantize. Now quantize means place my notes actually on the grid. Okay? You can see this one actually shuffled to the one before the beginning, so I'm just going to move that so it's definitely at the beginning. But they've basically shuffled to their nearest line. What I can do is, let me just undo that. Before I quantize, I can actually change it so that it's not quite as precise. So if I go down to eighths, when I quantize, it will only shift them to the nearest eighth, which is going to be much more probably what I wanted. Okay, so I now know that that one's wrong there. So I'll make sure that's right on the beat by drawing in a new one there. Okay, so I've now got it basically on the grid what I wanted to hear when I played it. What I can now do is press record again and think about other drums. Once I've got most of my beat going, I can take the click off because I've got the timing. I can highlight my new drums and right click on one of them and quantize them all. Now they're actually on the grid, and I can quickly play the sort of beat that I want without worrying about how to shape it on the grid. Okay, now it's the same with bass lines. What I've done here is I've added a Thor synthesizer, and now that I've selected that track on the music, that's going to be what's playing on my piano. Okay, I've done a search for a sub bass to start with. I normally start with something like that. So on my folder button, I went to the Reason Factory Sound Bank, I went to Thor, and I did a search for sub. And uploaded one of these sub beats. So now with these, you just got to be careful with bass not to go too low, or people sort of it gets lost. So this is perfect now because now I can have a bit of a play while it's playing and get a feel for what sort of bass line I want. Got to make sure I'm on the right place on the piano. Lots of options, I'm just going to play one in. Again, why not quantize them? And then they'll be on the grid. Okay, so if I was to add another instrument, like a sampler, to put in a fairly standard noise like a piano, load up a piano sound, okay, and hit record. You can see it's already highlighted because it's the new instrument. Okay, so I've just played some piano notes in. And that's how you can start playing your own music in using the on-screen keyboard, using the keyboard on your computer. Have fun.